Hey everybody, I'm Angenette Levy. Welcome to my channel. Thanks so much for joining me. If you would do me a big favor, please hit that thumbs up button. It really helps the video in the algorithm for YouTube. And I'd love to have you as a subscriber. So please subscribe and hit that bell for notifications. I'm going to be talking about Kouri Richins. She is the Utah mom and children's grief book author accused of murdering her husband, Kouri Richins, back in 2022. This is a case that I have followed really closely. I haven't talked much about it here on this channel, but that's going to change. I got some new documents that landed in my inbox, and I've been digging through them, and they're pretty interesting. These are documents from the defense, and they're saying basically that things in this case have now changed. The prosecution is basically saying in the case against Kouri Richins, and I'll put up her picture right now. That's her. She was a real estate agent, a realtor who was involved in trying to remodel houses. She was building this big monstrosity of a house out there in Utah. It was a big hot mess. And the prosecution, the Summit County prosecutors, are saying that she was way overextended. She was basically robbing Peter to pay Paul, and that she wanted her husband, Kouri Richins, money because she was in it deep. She was taking out loans these are hard money loans with high interest rates that she couldn't pay back. And basically they're just saying she was in a financial mess, and that she also had a lover, that she was having an affair. So Kouri Richins was pretty well off, very well to do. Kouri Richins, he died back in 2022, and the prosecution in this case says he died from fentanyl poisoning. That's very important. They contend that Kouri Richins bought fentanyl from a housekeeper, Carmen Lauber, who is a witness in this case, and that she used that to poison Eric with a Moscow mule. That's been the allegation that's been made in court documents many times over, and we've reported on that many times in the past. Well, Kouri Richins actually suspected that Kouri was trying to poison him like a month or so before he died. She had bought some sandwiches. He started feeling really sick. It was a big deal. He took some steps to protect his assets. So after he died, Kouri didn't get any of his money. It's pretty wild. Well, now the defense has filed some documents saying that the prosecution has exculpatory evidence that they have become aware that this witness, Bobby Crozier, who claimed to have sold fentanyl to Carmen Lauber, so Kouri Richins, I guess, could get it, that he has kind of retracted his testimony, that he has recanted what he originally said, that he sold Carmen fentanyl and not another type of opiate drug. So the allegation in this case has always been that Eric died of fentanyl poisoning. And now the defense is saying, well, the witness who allegedly said he sold fentanyl to Carmen is now saying, no, I didn't. I sold another type of drugs. So this is Kouri Richins. This is him. This is the photo from his obituary. Father of three. I have talked to Greg Skordas, the attorney representing the Richins family. He told me through him, he has told me many times that Eric did not use drugs. I think the defense in this case could be that Kouri Richins was using fentanyl, was using drugs, if that is indeed what the autopsy showed in this case. Now, I think there could be a possibility here. Crozier, maybe he thinks he was selling one thing and it was really another. Maybe it was fentanyl. There are any number of drugs, and I know this because I've covered this fentanyl issue for a really long time. There are drugs that can appear to be one thing and stamped one way, and they look like they are one drug, but they can actually contain fentanyl. Cocaine was being laced with fentanyl. Marijuana, in some instances, was being laced with fentanyl. So there are a lot of people who've overdosed on fentanyl thinking they were using another type of drug. That could be a possibility in this case. So let's dig into this document that they have filed This is from the defense in this case. And they go through all of these headlines. This is how this document starts. The request for order, compelling disclosure of exculpatory evidence. It starts with, prosecutors say she mixed a lethal dose of fentanyl into his drink. Kouri Richins' housekeeper allegedly sold her fentanyl pills prior to husband's poisoning. Kouri Richins, the Utah mom who allegedly poisoned her husband with a fentanyl-laced cocktail. All these headlines stem from allegations that Ms. Richins procured oxycodone and ultimately fentanyl from her relationships and connections with Carmen Lauber, Robert Crozier, Nick Bonsavage, and Susan Kohler. Initially, Ms. Lauber informed investigators that fentanyl was never procured. See transcript of Carmen's interview, that was from April of 2023 after Eric died. The investigating officer subsequently interviewed Ms. Lauber again on May 3rd, 2023. It was at that meeting when Ms. Lauber indicated she got fentanyl from Robbie, that is Robert Crozier. And it says, see transcript of this interview, May 3rd, 2023. Was she granted some kind of immunity for getting fentanyl? Maybe, who knows? During his interview, he confirmed that he had sold fentanyl to Ms. Lauber on 2 occasions. So Robert Crozier initially told the cops back in 2023, yeah, I sold Carmen Lauber fentanyl 2 times back in 2023. Remember, the allegation from the prosecution is that Kouri tried to poison Eric on 2 separate occasions back in 2023. And the second time was with the Moscow Mule, and ultimately he was killed and died. That's the allegation. Sometime in April of this year, Mr. Crozier was interviewed by 2 members of the Summit County prosecution team at a Starbucks in Salt Lake City. The prosecution team asked Mr. Crozier if he had sold any fentanyl to Ms. Lauber. Mr. Crozier told them he had not sold fentanyl. He specified that he had sold OxyContin to Ms. Lauber on 2 occasions in early 2022. Mr. Crozier told the prosecution team that he met Ms. Lauber at the Maverick and Draper both times to sell her the pills. The prosecution team asked why Mr. Crozier had previously stated he had sold Ms. Lauber fentanyl. Mr. Crozier specified he did not remember saying that he had sold fentanyl and told them he had been detoxing during that interview and was out of it. Mr. Crozier told the prosecution team that he was certain he had sold Ms. Lauber OxyContin 30 milligram pills, also known as Roxy's or Roxy 30s. The prosecution team asked Mr. Crozier several times if he was sure, and Mr. Crozier told them he was sure he sold Ms. Lauber OxyContin. Now, it's important to note, OxyContin, it's still an opiate. Not fentanyl, but it's still an opiate. And I'd like to know, were these directly from a pharmacy? Is this like, how did you get these, Robbie? Did these come from a pill mill somewhere? I don't know. Could they have been laced with fentanyl? We don't know that. But this is common that this happens when you're buying drugs on the street from somebody. It has happened. The DEA even has a big campaign out there about how you could be buying a pill and thinking you're getting one thing, but guess what? It probably has something else like fentanyl in it. So is that a possibility here? Possibly. The prosecution has been aware of this exculpatory evidence since April of this year. The prosecution did not inform the defense of this information. No press release was issued, no reports, nothing. The prosecution just kept quiet in preparation for trial. Defense counsel located and interviewed Mr. Crozier within the past 30 days. It was during this interview at that meeting and the exculpatory information became known to defense counsel. So they're saying we only found out about this because we went and tracked this guy down. The prosecution had an obligation to tell us about this and they haven't done so yet. Now, were they holding on to this? Were they looking into it further? I don't know, but it's possible. The prosecution is required to disclose to the defendant the following material on information directly related to the case of which the prosecution team has knowledge and control, evidence that must be disclosed under the United States and Utah Constitution, including all evidence favorable to the defendant that is material to guilt or punishment. Their duty to disclose is a continuing duty as the material or information becomes known to the prosecutor. So they're saying, look, you've known about this for a while and you haven't sent it over to us. And I'm telling you, they really should have. So let's go over to Robert Crozier's affidavit, because Robert Crozier, Robbie, filled out an affidavit. He writes, I'm Robert Crozier, and I currently reside in the Davis County Jail, located in Farmington, Utah. So he's in jail. I'm over 18 and have personal knowledge of all facts stated herein. I've been identified as a witness in the above stated matter. In that capacity, I have been interviewed on 2 separate occasions by individuals associated with the prosecution of Kouri Richins. I have been told that the first interview was on or about May 4th, 2023. So this is a little over a year after Eric Richins died. They would have had the toxicology back, seen what killed Eric Richins, and started investigating from there, going through computer records, etc. It was conducted by 2 officers from the Summit County Police Department at the Davis County Jail. I do not know the names of the officers who interviewed me. On May 4th, 2023, I had been in jail for a short time and was detoxing from drug use. I do not have any personal recollection of the details of that interview, although I have since been told that I agreed that I had sold fentanyl to Carmen Lauber in 2022 on 2 occasions. I'm very interested to know if this interview was recorded. You would certainly hope that there wasn't just a transcript and that there was an actual recording. So there should be, if there's a transcript, a recording, and a report. Number 6, in early April of 2025, I was asked to meet with 2 people from the Summit County Attorney's Office. I believe that both individuals were prosecutors, and they told me they were prosecuting Kouri Richins. I believe that one of them was Brad Bloodworth. He's come under scrutiny in the past by the defense, and, he gets up in court and talks mostly every time as the lead prosecutor in this case. I cannot recall the name of the other individual who was at the meeting, but it was a man with a beard. I was sober at that meeting and had been sober for over 3 months. We met at the Starbucks in downtown Salt Lake City. I believe it was the Starbucks on 80 South Main Street, Salt Lake City, Utah. Mr. Bloodworth and the other individual asked me if I had sold fentanyl to Carmen Lauber. I told them no. I sold Oxycontin to Carmen Lauber on 2 occasions in early 2022. I told them I met her at the Maverick and Draper both times to sell her the pills. So the prosecution's theory is that Kouri asked Carmen to get her the Michael Jackson stuff, which is actually propofol. That's what killed Michael Jackson. But she wanted something that was going to kill somebody. That's the allegation. They asked why I had previously told officers that I had sold her fentanyl. I told them I did not remember saying that and that I had been detoxing during that interview and was, quote, out of it. I told them that I was certain that I had sold Carmen Lauber Oxycontin 30 milligram pills, otherwise known as Roxy's or Roxy 30s. They asked me several times if I was sure, and I told them yes, I was sure that I sold her Oxycontin. I was told at that meeting that I would be called as a witness in this case and that the Summit County Attorney's Office would be putting me up in a hotel near the courthouse. I certify that this statement is true. So the defense, in response to all of this, is saying, hey, you are keeping our client in jail. She's sitting there awaiting trial, and she should get bail. So they filed a motion. I don't think it's going to work, but they want her let out on bail, given this new information, because they believe it's significant enough to show that she didn't poison Eric. I'm not so sure it is, but this is what they're contending. So they're going to say, this is reasonable doubt, or it's exculpatory. It shows, in their view, that she did not kill Eric. So how did the fentanyl end up in Eric's system? The defense will say, not our job to tell you that. That's the prosecution and the police's job to answer that question. Not our job. It's not our job to solve murders. It's our job to defend our client. So they're holding the state's feet to the fire, and they're going to contend that this wasn't even a murder at all. They're going to say that he overdosed. So here's the motion for bail. And it says, she moves the court to reconsider setting bail and ordering conditions of release pursuant to Section 7720207 of the Utah Code. They say there is a material change in circumstances since November of 2024 when they were last in court, and she was, not going to get bail again. The matter of bail has been brought before this court on 2 occasions. First, on June 12th, 2023, this court conducted a detention hearing and considered exhibits, testimony, and arguments submitted by the parties. At that time, Ms. Richins was facing a potential death penalty on the aggravated murder charge and was not entitled to bail as a matter of right pursuant to Section 201, paragraph 1, subparagraph 2 of the Utah Code. The court did, however, go on to find that there was substantial evidence to support the charge and clear and convincing evidence that the defendant would pose a substantial danger to the community if released on bail. So on October 22nd of 2024, she filed a motion to reconsider bail, arguing that there had been a material change of circumstance since the prior detention hearing. The court found that a material change in circumstance did exist, and on November 12th, a hearing was held on the motion. After oral argument, the court ruled from the bench that there was still substantial evidence to support the charge and clear and convincing evidence the defendant would pose a danger. But they're saying now we've had even more of a material change in circumstances. New evidence has come to light that goes to the heart of the state's allegation that Ms. Richins poisoned her husband with fentanyl. The state's case is based on statements made by Carmen Lauber that she procured fentanyl from Mr. Robert Crozier on 2 occasions and sold it to Ms. Richins. The defense has recently learned in April of 2025, Mr. Crozier met with prosecutors for Summit County and informed them that this was not true. Mr. Crozier told members of the prosecution team that he did not sell fentanyl to Ms. Lauber, but rather sold her OxyContin. Although the state failed to disclose this exculpatory information, an exculpatory statement to the defense is required under Brady and Giglio. Those are 2 Supreme Court cases. The defense has learned of it independently when they interviewed Mr. Crozier on September 3rd, 2025. So they're saying basically 5 months passed and the prosecution did not tell them about this. Mr. Crozier has now informed both the state and the defense that he sold only OxyContin to Carmen Lauber on 2 occasions in early 2022. He further told both the state and the defense he did not recall previously telling Summit County detectives that he had sold fentanyl to Ms. Lauber. And they submit a bunch of argument about this. And they talk about how he said he was out of it. He's sober now, and he says he's now certain that he sold Carmen Lauber 30 milligram OxyContin pills, different from fentanyl. So there you go. It will be interesting to see how the state responds to this. Is there anything in the toxicology where it shows that anything included in OxyContin is in that? Was this packaged potentially, this pill or these pills, were they packaged as OxyContin and they had fentanyl in them? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how the state responds to this because they have to respond to this. And as of right now, it doesn't appear they have, but they will because they are required to do so. In this matter, the state's entire theory of criminal liability is that Kouri Richins procured fentanyl from her housekeeper, Carmen Lauber, which she caused to be unwillingly ingested by her husband in some unknown way, directly causing his death. There's no physical evidence of this, but only the statements of Carmen Lauber. And these statements are wholly dependent on whether or not Lauber procured fentanyl from Robert Crozier. None of these so-called fentanyl pills were found nor tested. Lauber only believes she sold Kouri fentanyl because she believed that that is what Crozier gave her. If Robert Crozier did not, in fact, sell fentanyl to Lauber, there can be no credible argument that substantial evidence of guilt exists. So there you have it. Arguments from the defense saying that Kouri Richins should be let out of jail. Should be let out of jail right now. Her defense says she needs to have bail. Let's go to trial. Let's have a jury decide this. It would get very technical, I believe, with the toxicology stuff. God only knows what Carmen Lauber is going to say on the stand, what Robert Crozier will say on the stand. We don't know. But I have a feeling, and I don't know this for certain, you just don't know what you're getting when you buy drugs on the street from somebody. You just don't know. And I think that could be a possibility here, or there could be other possibilities. So we will keep an eye on this. I will keep an eye on this because I've been following this case so closely from the very beginning. Everybody, I really appreciate you watching this video. I'm usually live on Saturday nights, but this is kind of not really live because I had to do something, but I really hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know where you've been watching from in the comments and any other cases you'd like me to discuss. I'm Angenette Levy. It's been great being with you. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, hit that thumbs up button and hit the subscribe.